Hi folks, Canadian Prepper here. Today on the channel, I'm going to be providing you with my predictions for 2024. Is this the year that everything goes to hell? Or conversely, is this going to be the period of time where we enter a new age of AI-driven abundance, a tech-based utopia for all? Let's talk about it. On everybody's mind nowadays, war. What's the likelihood? I would have to say a 9 out of 10. What's the severity? Extreme. We currently have 5 major potential theaters of conflict on the horizon, with 27 points of instability around the world as identified by the notorious Council on Foreign Relations. The Middle East. In the Middle East, the war between Iran and Israel is heating up. The Western coalition led by the United States has given Yemen their final ultimatum. If Houthi attacks continue in the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, this coalition likely will declare war on Yemen. We have Hamas in the Gaza Strip, we have Fatah mobilizing for war in the West Bank, and we have the situation in Lebanon with Hezbollah. Iranian-backed militias in Syria and Iraq, and we've now seen the greatest attack in Iran's history take place right at the beginning of this year. And lastly, assassinations and asymmetrical attacks throughout the region are almost ensuring that this region is going to explode at some point in 2024. Russia and Ukraine. Tensions between Ukraine and Russia are at the highest point since the onset of the war. Volodymyr Zelensky has committed to destroying the Crimean Bridge and denying Russia access to the Black Sea this year. Also, Ukrainian attacks on Russia have actually intensified. Ukraine is also likely to get a new arsenal this year of F-16s, long-range missiles, and will have some restrictions removed that prevented them from using those weapons inside Russian territory. From December 30th to the time of making this video, we've seen the largest ever attacks to date by Russia on Ukrainian territory, and NATO war mobilization is ratcheting up. It doesn't look good. North Korea. North Korea has stated that they have effectively scrapped any plans for a peaceful reunification with the South. They're now drawing up plans for a nuclear strike on South Korea if they perceive the Americans and the South Koreans as escalating in their provocations. They've also pledged to increase their ICBM testing, continue in the proliferation of nuclear weapons, possibly even do nuclear tests, and remilitarize the border. China and Taiwan. In just a few days, Taiwan is going to be having its presidential elections, and the frontrunner is currently a pro-Western candidate. This is problematic for China because Xi Jinping said at the beginning of the new year that reunification is inevitable. With the US commitment to providing Taiwan with more weapons, more incursions into Taiwanese airspace in 2023 than any other time in history, as well as a much stronger Chinese naval presence in the region, tensions will be running at an all-time high this year. Anything can happen. What about the potential for a nuclear war? I would have to rate this as around 7 out of 10. Severity, extremely high as it gets. If any of the major nuclear players at any point feels that the existence of their nation is under threat, and they're also witnessing their conventional weapon stockpiles depleting, while at the same time looking over here and seeing that we have this massive supply of nuclear weapons, well then all bets are off. To make matters worse, almost all the nuclear treaties have effectively been suspended, and satellite data suggests that China, Russia, and the United States are all getting ready to recommence nuclear testing. Cyber attack. I give that one an 8 out of 10. Severity is very high. Everybody's favorite, Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum are great at predicting things, aren't they? Well, the WEF is saying that the biggest risk for 2024 is going to be a cyber attack. Cybercrime is expected to cost nearly $9.5 trillion in 2024. The problem is, a wholesale nation-state-sponsored cyber attack could compromise the water system, natural gas, the power grid, telecommunications, the internet, GPS, logistics, hospitals, and even the banking system. The more connected the world becomes with the Internet of Things, the greater the attack surface and the greater the risk. And with AI, the Skynet is the limit on how much damage can be caused. It doesn't look good. Financial crisis, the likelihood, 9 out of 10. Severity, medium to high. Let's take a look at the facts. The Fed's emergency lending rate to banks is at an all-time high and it's rocketing higher each week. In 2023, we had some of the largest bank failures in history. Currently, the bank's unrealized losses are at record levels and shattering records every other quarter. Debt is at an all-time high, just crossing the $34 trillion mark. The expectation that there's going to be a recession has never been higher before, and interest paid on the debt is also at an all-time high. All the while, the market remains ridiculously overvalued according to the Shiller PE ratio, more than it was before the Great Depression started. Now, oil prices have declined, but a lot of people are saying that oil production has peaked. If oil prices spike due to war in the Middle East, inflation would go through the roof and the Fed would have no choice but to raise interest rates. This could potentially collapse the banking system. Furthermore, supply chain issues could create more financial constraints. We're talking about things like the multipolar world emerging, BRICS coming up, sanctions wars, and the imperiled shipping corridors, be it the Panama Canal that's dealing with drought, the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, which is in the crosshairs of Houthi attacks, or the Strait of Hormuz that enters the Persian Gulf. This could be shut down if Israel and Iran go to war. Even the Taiwan Strait could be impacted if China makes a military move in the direction of Taiwan. Nearly 50% of global trade by sea could be impacted. Needless to say, it's not looking good. Civil unrest. The likelihood here, I would have to say a 9 out of 10. Severity, medium to high. Now, according to the Edelman 2023 Trust Barometer, the USA is amongst the most polarized countries in the world. Needless to say, this could be one of the most contentious elections in US history. Will Trump continue to get removed from more ballots of more states, preventing him from participating in the election? Is there going to be some black swan at some point? Is Joe Biden even going to be the Democratic candidate? Will we possibly see a civil war? One thing I can absolutely guarantee, 50% of the American public is going to be absolutely pissed after Election Day. Terrorist attacks. The likelihood, 10 out of 10. Severity, medium to high. After October 7th, all bets are off. Now, terrorist attacks in the West actually peaked during 2017, but now that Pandora's box has been opened in the Middle East, it's very likely that we're going to see a lot more of these incidents in 2024. And lastly, everybody's favorite, the thing that we can all agree on, just kidding, the climate crisis. I think that the likelihood that this is going to get more severe is most definitely a 10 out of 10. Severity is anywhere from medium to extreme. Since record keeping began, 2023 is the warmest year on record. Daily snow and extent anomalies are at an all-time low. Winter hasn't even come here yet in the Northern Hemisphere, and we're already in January, and in most places, there's no snow on the ground. The oceans are also increasing in temperature. Global sea surface temperature anomaly is 5 degrees above average this year. According to the SPI Global Drought Monitor, by 2025, drought will impact 75% of the world's population. This is going to make it a lot more challenging to grow food. Global average temperature for 2023 is 1.7 degrees above the 1850 baseline. The coastal regions are getting wetter and the interior regions are getting hotter. And right now, rice prices, as well as many other staple grains, are starting to surge in price. Needless to say, it's not looking good. Let me know what your predictions are for 2024. Am I off the mark? Do you disagree with me? Do you think I'm a complete idiot? Let me know in the comment section below. All I can say is keep on prepping, because I think that one of these days, the shit's gonna hit the fan.
The best way to support this channel is to support yourself by gearing up at CanadianPreparedness.com, where you'll find high-quality survival gear at the best prices, no junk, and no gimmicks. Use discount code PREPPINGGEAR for 10% off. Don't forget, the strong survive, but the prepared thrive. Stay safe.